A beggar girl's plea that changed everything. The rain hammered against the bulletproof windows of the black Mercedes as it pulled up to the towering glass facade of Sterling Industries. Inside, billionaire Marcus Sterling barely glanced up from his tablet, his fingers dancing across quarterly reports that showed profits in the hundreds of millions. At 35, he had built an empire that most could only dream of, but his heart had grown as cold as the steel and concrete that surrounded his penthouse office. Money was his language, power his religion, and compassion was a luxury he couldn't afford in the cutthroat world of corporate dominance. As his driver opened the door, Marcus stepped out into the downpour, his $1,000 Italian leather shoes clicking against the wet pavement. That's when he saw her, a young woman, barely 20, huddled against the building's entrance with two small bundles pressed against her chest. Her clothes were soaked through, her dark hair plastered to her face, but her eyes burned with a fierce determination that stopped him mid-stride. If this story has touched your heart already, please show some love by hitting that like button, sharing this video, and don't forget to comment below what you think will happen next. And if you're new to Trillionaire in Love, hit that subscribe button for more inspiring stories that will change your perspective on life. Please, the girl whispered, her voice barely audible above the storm. Please, sir, take them. They deserve better than this. She held out the two bundles, and Marcus realized with a shock that they were baby's twins, no more than 6 months old, their tiny faces peaceful despite the chaos around them. Marcus had walked past hundreds of homeless people in his lifetime, his security usually clearing them away before he even noticed. But something about this moment froze him in place. The girl's eyes weren't filled with the desperation he expected, but with a love so pure it seemed to cut through the rain itself. "What are you talking about?" Marcus found himself asking, his voice rougher than intended. "I'm dying," she said simply, her words hitting him like physical blows. "The doctors say I have maybe weeks, maybe days. I have no family, no money for proper care for them. But you have everything. You could give them the life I never could." Her name was Elena, and as she spoke, her story unfolded like a tragic poem. She had been a promising art student before an unexpected pregnancy changed everything. The father disappeared when he learned about the twins, and Elena's own parents had disowned her for refusing to give up her babies. She had been living in shelters, doing whatever work she could find, but a recent diagnosis of late-stage cancer had shattered her world completely. "I've watched you," she continued, her voice growing weaker. "I've seen the news stories about your company, about all the success. I know you probably think I'm crazy, but these babies, they're not just mine anymore. They're the future, and they deserve someone who can protect that future." Marcus felt something crack inside his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced since he was a child, watching his own mother struggle to keep food on their table. He had built his fortune promising himself he would never be vulnerable again, never let emotion cloud his judgment. But looking at Elena and her children, all his carefully constructed walls began to crumble. "I can't just," he started, but Elena cut him off. "You can," she said firmly. "You're the only one who can." The challenges that followed tested every fiber of Marcus's being. First came the legal maze adoption procedures that normally took months, Elena's deteriorating health that made every day precious, and the media storm that erupted when news of the billionaire's unexpected decision leaked to the press. Headlines screamed about publicity stunts and questioned his motives, but Marcus pressed forward with a determination that surprised even himself. Elena's condition worsened rapidly. Marcus found himself spending more time at the hospital than his office, holding her hand as she whispered stories about her dreams for the twins, how she imagined little Sophia would be a dancer, how baby Gabriel had his father's eyes but would hopefully have a kinder heart. These conversations transformed Marcus in ways no business deal ever could. The twins themselves presented their own challenges. Marcus had never changed a diaper, never prepared formula, never dealt with the sleepless nights that come with caring for infants. His penthouse, once a sterile showcase of success, slowly transformed into something that resembled an actual home. Baby monitors replaced stock tickers, and the sound of crying became more important than any conference call. His business associates were bewildered. Board members questioned his judgment when he started bringing the babies to work, when he began delegating more responsibilities to focus on his new family. Some suggested he hire nannies and return to his old life, but Marcus found himself unwilling to miss a single moment of their growth. The real test came when Elena's condition took a final turn for the worse. She had been staying in a private room Marcus arranged, the best medical care money could buy, but they all knew it was only delaying the inevitable. On a quiet Tuesday morning, with Sophia and Gabriel sleeping in their carriers beside her bed, Elena took Marcus's hand one last time. "Promise me," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "Promise me you'll tell them about their mother, who loved them more than life itself. Promise me you'll show them that love doesn't come from money, but from the heart." Marcus nodded, tears streaming down his face for the first time in decades. "I promise." Elena passed away peacefully that afternoon, and Marcus found himself holding two babies who had just lost their mother. While he had gained something, he never knew he needed a purpose beyond profit, a love beyond measure. The months that followed were a whirlwind of growth and discovery. Marcus learned that Sophia indeed loved to move to music, her tiny body swaying whenever he played classical pieces in the nursery. Gabriel proved to be exceptionally alert, his eyes tracking everything with an intelligence that reminded Marcus of Elena's fierce determination. But the most profound change was in Marcus himself. He started a foundation in Elena's name, focusing on supporting single mothers and providing health care for underprivileged children. He restructured his company to prioritize employee welfare and family leave policies. His business associates initially worried about these changes affecting profits, but surprisingly, the company's reputation improved, and their bottom line actually grew stronger. The media, which had initially been skeptical, began to take notice of the genuine transformation. Marcus, who had once been known as the ruthless Ice King of Wall Street, was now being recognized as a champion for social causes. But for him, the real reward came every morning when he woke up to two sets of bright eyes looking up at him with complete trust and love. 2 years later, on the anniversary of Elena's death, Marcus stood in the same spot where she had first approached him. He was holding Sophia and Gabriel, now toddlers with personalities as bright as the sunshine that had replaced that stormy night. He had commissioned a small memorial plaque near the building's entrance with Elena's words, "They deserve better than this. Your mother was right," he whispered to the twins. "You deserved better, and she made sure you got it. But what she didn't know was that you would make me better too." Sophia babbled something that sounded like mama, and Gabriel clapped his hands, both of them oblivious to the profound impact their arrival had made on not just Marcus's life, but on everyone around him. The foundation had already helped thousands of families. Marcus's company had become a model for ethical business practices, and the twins were growing up surrounded by love and opportunity. As they walked back toward their home, Marcus reflected on how one desperate plea on a rainy night had completely rewritten his story. Elena had given him her greatest treasures, but in return, she had given him something even more valuable, the capacity to love unconditionally, to see beyond himself, and to understand that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in the lives you touch and the love you share. The beggar girl had indeed changed his life, but perhaps more importantly, she had shown him that sometimes the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected places, and that a moment of compassion can ripple outward to change the world. That evening, as Marcus tucked Sophia and Gabriel into their beds, he whispered the same promise he made every night. "Your mother's love lives on through everything we do, and tomorrow we'll find new ways to make her proud." The twins drifted off to sleep, secure in the knowledge that they were loved beyond measure, while their adoptive father finally understood that the greatest investment he had ever made wasn't in stocks or real estate, but in opening his heart to two small souls who had taught him the true meaning of wealth. Elena's desperate plea had indeed changed Marcus's life, but it had also changed the lives of countless others who would benefit from the foundation, from the improved business practices, and from the example that love and compassion could triumph over greed and indifference. Her legacy lived on, not just in her children, but in the ripple effects of kindness that continued to spread outward, touching lives in ways she could never have imagined. And in that truth, Marcus found his greatest success not as a billionaire, but as a father, a philanthropist, and a man who had learned that the most powerful force in the world isn't money or influence, but the courage to love when love seems impossible. If this story moved you, please let us know in the comments below. Share your thoughts about Elena's incredible sacrifice and Marcus's transformation. What would you have done in his situation? Don't forget to like this video if it touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear this message of hope, and subscribe to Billionaire in Love for more stories that celebrate the power of love, compassion, and the human spirit. Your support helps us bring more inspiring content that reminds us all of what truly matters in life. Thank you for being part of our community.